Today's episode is brought to you by non-flammable tents. How intense is that? I'll cheers to that.
Well, cheers.
Cheers. Hello and welcome to InfoWhores. We are your hosts. I'm Nat.
I'm Sam.
And today we are joined by
Jess Swietoniowski, but I said it wrong, so you can
correct us.
Swietoniowski.
Oh, I was way off. I think I might have got a 5 out of 10 that time.
A lot of people usually add in a letter, so takes them out.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can read it here, folks, if you didn't catch that. So, Jess, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We met on Instagram.
Online, where you're not supposed to meet people.
You're not supposed to, and we actually got together during a global pandemic despite lockdown restrictions. Oops. But we did meet outside, right?
Outside in Trinity Bellwoods.
Yes.
But outside of their social distancing circles.
Yes.
So we were still rebels about it.
Yeah, we made a point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the people who follow you, a lot of the people that follow us would know who you are because you've worked at Rebel and True North.
It's not the B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but can you tell our audience just a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back. So I grew up most of my life as a professional competitive ballroom dancer. Not sure if you guys know that. So I moved to New York when I was 17 years old to pursue my dancing career. La-di-da-di-da. A few years later, moved back to Canada, went to Sheridan College for journalism, and then started at Rebel News my graduating year. And here I am.
And so why journalism?
Well, so I was in New York during the Trump election, the first in 2015, 2016. And so I noticed like everyone around me, because I was in the dancing circle, that community, very like artistic, liberal, which I wasn't actually aware until that election. And everyone around me was like telling me that there's going to be some guy worse than Hitler about to be president. And I was like, holy Say
it.
Holy Swietoniowski.
That's what we wanted you to say.
And so I was like, oh, wow, like Hitler was bad, so how bad can this Donald Trump be? And so I started looking into it, and it turns out like not that bad at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
nice
then,
guy.
Yeah, he's actually pretty cool. Yeah. So I realized, I was like, oops, I'm a right-winger. What am I doing here? And so, yeah, that's pretty much what really sparked my interest in politics and media.
So recently we saw that you made a video with True North, Sue-Ann Levy. Mm-hmm. About the homeless encampment at Dufferin Grove Park, I think it was, and I know she's been covering that a lot in the whole pandemic and everything. So, do you want to just give us some context about why you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So these tent cities have been popping up across the city, across Toronto. Actually, just heard that one popped up in Hamilton, so I'm sure it's in more cities than we're aware. But especially in the last year during the pandemic, it's just like rampant. And if you go near these tent cities, like you'll see, like they're not just like setting up camp for the weekend. Like they are fully equipped. I've seen like they have vacuums. Not sure what they're vacuuming, but they have vacuums. They had a little kiddie pool in one of like...
Some of them have foyers. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Toilets.
There was
inside.
There was one, I didn't see it myself, but Sue-Ann mentioned it to me, one with 2 stories.
Wow. No.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is epic. How do I move in?
Yeah, I was like,
probably just show up.
That's bigger than like most of our houses.
Yeah, definitely bigger than some of my apartments in New York. That's for sure.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Stunning. That's awesome. Okay, so while reporting on the scene, you were treated with, let's say, some aggression from men and women. We watched the video. It was pretty gnarly, the way you were treated. Can you speak about your experience a bit more?
Yeah, so It was a really bizarre day, and we were not expecting that at all. I actually went with Sue-Ann. It was actually her story. I was going to help her cover the tent city in Dufferin Grove.
Yeah.
And I was just there to film and like kind of be in the,
Yeah.
behind the camera. It's not about me.
Yeah, we didn't even see you.
But then eventually it just escalated.
Yeah.
So when we got to Dufferin Grove Park, I was just going around taking B-roll. And for whoever doesn't know, that's just footage of your surroundings that you use in like news reports just for
Right,
visuals,
right.
right? So I was just shooting some videos around the park, mainly of the tents and the tent cities that they have there, because it's not even only in one area, it's around the park.
Yeah.
And there's this one fire pit that was just taken over by some like indigenous group and activists. And we weren't aware of that at first until they were approaching us and yelling at us about not filming their sacred fire.
Right.
And, at the time we didn't like even notice that there was a fire there, or just like there's just stuff going on. You're in a public park. We're there to report, so we're taking videos.
Yeah.
They just kept coming over. We kept moving away. They kept coming over. We kept moving away. And at one point, we're just like surrounded by like 8 or 9 people. And, and I'm really glad I was there and it wasn't just Sue-Ann there, because if anyone knows Sue-Ann, like she's this smaller, older lady with her bike, like with her e-bike. Oh. And if I wasn't there filming, I don't know like how crazy these people would have gotten. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I wouldn't put it past them like to put their hands on her, like beat up this lady, right? So, and even with me filming, you can see in the footage, there was a few times where they were just getting all up in my space, yeah. Women and men, like this huge dude. Yeah. And I'm like, sir, like you need to move back. And he just kept pushing up against me, like forcing me to move back. Yeah. Because if I just like stood in place, like he'd be on top of me, right? And yeah, and eventually he grabbed my phone, and like, of course, when he's grabbing my phone, he's grabbing my hand at the same time, right? Like he's just like scuffling with me, basically.
So he assaulted you.
Basically. And so that happened like 3 times. So it was that dude and then another woman, like they threw my phone. One guy ran to pick up my phone, and for a second I was like, oh, thank you, friend. Yeah. No, he went and threw it even further. Oh, and yeah. I was like, okay.
It's like kids at a playground.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It was like really hot. I was like running after my phone. It happened like 2 more times, and like even like one of the women there, like when you feel someone's tits on you, that means they're too close. You know what I mean? And like this whole like personal space thing, it's a thing before COVID, right? Yeah. Like I like my personal space.
But especially during a pandemic. Like you'd think that they'd be a little more sensitive to that.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that like, I don't even know how, like at what point Sue-Ann called the police. I think it was at the point where she saw that I was being harassed and assaulted. And it's good she called the police, because I think that de-escalated the situation a little bit, actually, because they knew they couldn't keep pushing it, even though we asked them to leave us alone and that we're going to wait for the police outside of the park. So we went even just on the sidewalk outside the park, and they were still surrounding us. So eventually police came, didn't do anything, looked through all my footage, and they're like, oh, there's nothing like definite here that I can see. And I'm like, oh, really? Like you can see me getting assaulted, but okay, sure, whatever. And they basically just gave like a stern talking to the man, like in that pink shirt, if you remember from the video, the guy trying to assault me.
Like all in all, how long do you think that the incident was?
Maybe half an hour.
Right, but it must have felt like a lot longer.
It felt like forever, and it was just like basically me like trying to like lead Sue-Ann on her bike, like, okay, let's just go now, go now, like, thank you. Right. And always in those situations, I try not to say much, and I let the people, like the angry people, I let the mob say their whatever they have to say.
Smart.
Let them get it out so they feel heard, and then I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
But they just didn't let that happen.
No. Right. And I would say, like, I was very impressed with how you handled it. Like, you were a boss. Like, honestly.
It's not my first time in a sticky situation. Yeah. Unfortunately, as a journalist.
No kidding.
But you mentioned on your Instagram story that, like, no one stepped in to really help you. Like...
Yeah, so anyone like that saw what was going on, that was walking by, just like a bystander just walking by, automatically took the side of, the victims, those Indigenous people and their allies, because not everybody there at that ceremony or sacred fire or whatever it was Indigenous. They were all just allies, right? And it was really shocking. Not even shocking. I guess I kind of expected, but it was sad to see people just automatically siding with them and like treating us like we were doing something really, really wrong.
Yeah, a couple of tiny women. Ooh.
In a public park. And this was like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
This was like broad daylight. Like it's still morning time at a public park in Toronto. And that's what happened.
It's crazy. And do you think this is like a Toronto exclusive problem, like the kind of bystander attitude? Or do you think this, like, what do you think this says about this nation as a whole even?
I think it's a big city issue.
Yeah.
I think it's just there's so many people in a small space. Everyone's like on top of each other and people just get agitated. And I think we just like we lose empathy towards our neighbors, but then at the same time we like jump on the bandwagon with whatever the latest social justice trend is. So like right now, like with all the the mass graves that they're finding and stuff like that. That's like the hot topic right now.
No, for sure.
And so it's just virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, but like I was telling Nat before, like I feel like wokeness has like infiltrated the whole like homeless experience and the agencies, because I worked at a homeless agency and everything, and just I feel like this kind of permeated into the way people see the encampments. And like meeting the homeless people where they're at by enabling certain behaviors and giving them access to everything they need, like harm reduction, even free drugs now, right?
Yep.
And just coming to the encampments to deliver stuff for them and say that, you deserve this place. You're on sacred land, indigenous land and everything. So do you think that kind of strengthens their...
they're being enabled like 100%. It's not only the fault of like John Tory and the politicians and the police that are just basically neutered at this point. Like they're scared and neutered and given to all this pressure. But these people who find themselves in these tent cities and encampments, they are definitely being enabled. Like there's you see just on the people's lawns, they have like those signs that I stand with my neighbors in tents. Yeah. Meanwhile, that's like on their lawn, on their like $1 million home. And there's groups like Sanctuary is one of the groups, like one of the things that they supply listed on their website is tents. Like what do they like? Obviously, they know what they're doing. They're purposefully giving people these tents, and it's like they want them to live in the parks. And if they actually cared, they wouldn't want that. If you actually cared, you wouldn't want women living in tents
among men
every night and day. Like there's obviously a lot of mental issues, mental illness, there's drug abuse. Like it's not a good situation for people to be in. So it's like, so they don't actually care. They're just enabling this, and I'm not really sure where it's coming from. Really.
Yeah, it's definitely like a Band-Aid solution, right? And it just speaks to the fact that our government, and I think a lot of people don't understand or don't care to understand, like about getting to the root of the issue for sure. So we've talked about a lot of like progressivism kind of infiltrating homeless shelters. We know Toronto is like a hella lefty city, but how do you cope living in such a progressive place, especially as a journalist that leans right?
It's obvious. It sucks. It sucks at times, but honestly, at the end of the day, I can't get triggered by everything. Could you imagine always being mad about something? Like that's why these activists are so aggressive, is because they're so full of anger and hate. Like they're so triggered. And I'll give you an example. The other night, Sunday night, I went to an Arkell show. I love the Arkells. I love them, and I hate their politics. Like in the middle of the show, they had this whole segment about this whole speech about vaccines. And me and like my boyfriend who I was with, we look at each other, roll our eyes, And then we keep watching. We didn't leave or like cause like, you know, get upset about it, because also at the end of the day, like, it was actually kind of funny what they were doing. They were like saying, oh, our piano player got the vaccine and now he can play like this, and he was like killing it on the piano. I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny, sure, haha. And I tried to like laugh it off and move on with my life and just still be able to enjoy the city I live in, the music, like, you know, artists. I don't have to listen to their politics.
Yeah.
That's not what they're there for. They're there to sing and dance and entertain me.
If only they knew that.
No, but it was a live concert?
It was a live concert, yeah, at
Was there any-
Budweiser.
Was
Yeah.
there any weirdness, like temperature checks or any...
Nothing like that, but masks were required outdoors.
Ooh.
Except if you were drinking or eating. So before we even got in.
Drink the whole time.
Yeah, so all you have to do is just hold a can to your face. But even with that, we were at one point, one of the security or whatever asked us to put our masks on. And we like showed, we're like, oh, we have a beer.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, like, you like between your sips, you have to have it on. And we're
While
like,
you're chewing.
yeah, and we're like, ha, 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 and walk away. Like, what are you gonna do, buddy? Like, and it's like, and especially because it's like at a concert, it's so loud. So this guy had to like come like in
my
our
gosh.
face. And I'm like, why don't you just like step back, leave me alone, and we'll all be okay. Like, get out of my face if you're concerned
But it was
about
like
COVID.
none of the... There was no space, empty seats for social distancing or anything?
There were not, like, there were empty seats, but I don't know if it's just because it was a Sunday night.
Right.
Or if it was
Interesting.
social. Yeah, I don't know.
Because aren't there limits to public gatherings? So I guess they don't count.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway.
It's so hard to keep track of
I know.
this.
No.
Maybe because it's outside. I don't know. But I was going to, if there were like thousands of people there, that's really interesting because you still can't really go to church.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
interesting. Politics. Let's talk a little more about politics.
Oh, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because we're going through this snap election and everything, my question is, like, do you have any... I know all these politicians have been really disappointing lately. Do you have one that is actually has inspired you lately?
Oh,
or
that's easy. Maxime Bernier.
Yes.
Of course, honestly, he's the, like, of course, like, Randy Hillier and
Yeah.
Derek Sloan, they've been great.
Yeah.
It's really a shame that they're not uniting.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, Maxime, like, he's a rock star, and he's, like, the only one that's just, like, he's the most Trumpy figure that we have, and I think Canada's so desperate for someone to, like, say it straight, like, shake the nation, be like, wake up.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so, yeah, that's the first person that just comes to my mind.
Imagine if she said Jaggy. Get out! No, I'm just kidding.
No, like, I agree. Like, Max is he's killing it these days, but also he's a lot like Trump, but also he's so different from him, and it's in a good way.
He's like a different kind of bulldog. He's like not the American bulldog. He's the English one.
He's
you know.
so Canadian.
He's also trending on Twitter like the past few days, which is really exciting to see. Like,
is he?
Yeah, he's been trending on Twitter. Like, what the heck?
Well, I'm not on Twitter, so thanks.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
This one got kicked off. Do you want to tell everyone about that a little bit?
I wish I had a juicy story. Like, I wish I like said some crazy shit, but I don't know what it was. I have no idea. The last thing I was tweeting about was what flavor of Doritos chips Ted Cruz may eat.
No.
And so that didn't sit well. So I got the boot.
Exceptionally controversial.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
I'm almost offended sitting next to her. I don't know. What about you?
Should I leave?
Yeah, the Jaggy thing didn't do it. Go. No. So, what like politician or like media person has kind of been the most disappointing for you this year? Because I think 2020, 2021 has been just like a year of like disappointments.
Yeah.
Anything standing out for you?
I mean, Doug Ford is a huge, utter disappointment.
Yeah.
It's like very upsetting. Like, he's just completely screwed over his base.
Yeah.
He like does not care. He completely changed. And I know a lot of people are like extremely disappointed in him. And it's funny because not even liberals don't like him either.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
who are you pandering to?
Yeah.
Do you actually think you're gonna sway liberals? like you're Rob Ford. Like, no, you're a Ford. You're not going to sway liberals, and you just screwed over your base. So
No, for sure, because it's like he's not a conservative. He doesn't value freedom, but his lockdowns aren't strict enough for the lefties. So it's like, I don't really get it. Like, he's not winning.
It's very funny because both conservatives and liberals hate him, but for very different reasons.
Yeah.
But at least we're like, yeah, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
But let's like not talk about why. Let's just unite.
Like I wear a shirt and a sticker. The shirt is "Fuck Doug Ford" and
Sorry, Dad.
sorry, Ken. But no, like flaming lefties with purple hair will come up and say "yeah" in public, and also a lot of like people at rallies and protests will also do the same thing. Everyone,
Yeah.
we can unite with our hatred.
Beautiful. Thank you, Doug Ford. The only thing you've done is unite us.
but what did you think of Rob Ford? Do you have?
You know, I wasn't around for Rob Ford.
Okay.
She wasn't born yet. Just kidding.
I was a lefty then, so I don't have an opinion either.
Just kidding.
Well, so I was like growing up, I definitely leaned more liberal without realizing it.
Right.
Just because my parents are actually like more conservative, and just naturally I went against my parents, and I was like this like artist, dancer, you know. So I unfortunately didn't get all of the Rob Ford that I wish I had. But you know, hearing people talk about him, I know he was like really loved, and he unfortunately is probably like rolling in his grave right now, seeing his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, even his own daughters are they contradict everything. They're so big into like natural health, immunity, fitness, like all these things. And they're like these pretty little blondes. Like, it's so weird. It's just so weird.
And his own like sister-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
Renata Ford, who ran for PPC
Yeah.
last election. Like he's basically screwing her.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, it's weird. Doug Ford does not want us to take our vitamins.
No.
No.
He wants us to eat cheesecake.
Yeah, and cheesecake and stay home.
Yeah.
What if I put my vitamins in my cheesecake, Doug? Is that okay? Like,
They
just
cancel each other out.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a fun question for you. What is your favorite pizza in the city?
Oh my God. So I am still trying to discover this because I just moved into Liberty Village, and that like there's so much good pizza around there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm still experimenting.
Okay.
Like Ghost, Blondie's, North of Brooklyn, like all good things. I have to say North of Brooklyn has the best garlic dipping sauce though.
That's
The
important.
garlic dipping sauce is so good. And the last time I had Blondie's pizza, they didn't put enough tomato sauce on it. So I'm a
can't
little
have that.
upset about that. Ghost is great. But I have no idea. They're all so good.
All
I mean,
of
pizza
them?
is
Yeah.
good.
Okay, what about burger?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Burger. You know, my favorite thing to do is go to Vince Gasparo's butcher shop.
Yeah.
And get the stupid good wild boar patties and make burgers at home.
That's so
It's
good.
so wild boar. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So good.
I've never
so
tried.
that's my favorite thing. Next time we have a barbecue, I'll get wild boar.
We'll hold you to that.
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
Yeah, do it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show. It's been like such a treat. Can you tell our audience where they can find you on social media, etc.?
Yeah, so I am, again, not on Twitter. And I tried to go back, and then they, like, kicked me off right away. And they're like,
found
no, Jessica, stop it. Okay, well, so I'm on Instagram, Only News Fans. You can go to my website, onlynewsfans.com, which will take you to all my social media, and my YouTube page, which is also Only News Fans. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll link all that in the description of the episode, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was fun.
We
Yeah,
end
thank
every
you.
episode by saying bye at the same time. So would
Okay.
you do us the honor of saying...
Counting us
Okay,
in?
do
Yeah.
you count it in?
Yeah, count it
okay.
in, yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go, or 3, 2, 1.
Uh-oh.
Okay. We did not rehearse this. 3, 2, 1.
Bye!